I would say that the most fun thing that I was able to do with my chapter this year was probably just I would say overall, it's getting to meet people while hosting all of our events and building up relationships with everybody. I think that the most fun thing is the relationships you get to build with other members and officers throughout the way.
I want to say our introduction event, it was very important to us, so we had to make it great. It was a board game night, and it was an introduction to the semester. We had a very high attendance of around 57. We had pizza, we got to know each other. We connected on LinkedIn, we played games, and we laughed a lot. I felt that reinforced everyone's love to Tau Beta Pi this way.
The most fun I had was definitely attending the national convention. I had a great time meeting other Tau Betas from around the country and being able to just actively contribute towards Tau Beta Pi and electing on or voting for different roles I would be in state and things like that. I just had a great time doing all of that.
I think some of the most fun activities that we had was that we built an intramural volleyball team. And so during the semester, we had the opportunity to play against other organizations on campus, not only engineering. And so that was very exciting. We were able, one of the reasons why we created this volleyball team was because we wanted to kind of foster that sense of community within our chapter members. And so we thought, our students are very active. And so we saw that other organizations were also participating in these events. And so we were able to play every Tuesday and Thursday for this past semester. And we played up to the qualifiers at the end. And so that was pretty fun. And it was a good way to get, our members involved in something kind of a little bit more social and in a way that they could also relax from all their academics. And so that was one of the activities that I think I found pretty fun for us.
For me, I think the hardest thing to learn was how fast the semester and the year actually moves and how much planning has to go in beforehand to make sure that everything happens on time. And you need to plan for more than you think that you need to plan for at a specific time. Because with everything, there is the advertising for it, the organizing of it, and that adds additional lead time to anything that you're trying to plan. So I found that a lot of things would come very quickly because with recruitment and events and all that stuff, everything, you're just focused on what's happening now, and there's a lot just coming at you as you go.
So I was lucky to have a big team of officers, thanks to all those officers to help me this semester. I would say the thing that I learned the easy way, and I wish I known from the beginning, is how Tau Beta Pi, how much helpful they are. So we had the deadlines, we had the reports, we had a lot of questions, and all those deadlines, they're not a lot of work, but they're very important. And there are some details that we wanted to ask about, and I was afraid to ask, should I just do it? I looked up a lot, I asked a lot of people, and literally just email Tau Beta Pi and they'll answer you very quickly. They're very supportive. This is one of the things I learned the hard way.
Not being terribly organized at the beginning. When I came into the role of president, I wasn't asking the person before me how all these things are done. And so it eventually spiraled into this thing of they went away and I was kind of left in this position where it's like, okay, I don't know really what I need to do. And I don't necessarily have the resources, and they didn't really, they being the past president really didn't give me much. So it was much like hitting just the reset button. And so because of that, I kind of just had to figure my way throughout everything, talk with the advisor who had, been a lot more involved with the chapter than me in the past. And so that was really just the hardest thing I had to learn was, one, just piecing everything together without having a good transition from past officers to good officers or to new officers.
I guess for our chapter, you mentioned COVID, and so when that happened, our chapter board kind of all went away, and so I was the one that was left, and I had a very short time with our board, and so I wasn't entirely sure, how to do all those reports and stuff, kind of how Ali mentioned. However, something that we learned this year at our district conference a couple of weeks ago was about the project reports, and so for every event that we have, there's these project reports that we can kind of submit, right, and keep track of all the events. So thankfully we did have all of the information. However, I would consider it maybe like learning it the hard way, because over this year, I think we've had about, I want to say like 36 or 38 events. And so making those reports all at the last minute or at the end of the year, might not be as sufficient as if we had known about it before and kind of working, throughout the semester, which kind of ties back into that organizational, those techniques and making sure that we're doing things in a timely manner. But
I personally recommend that if there's somebody who wants to help and wants to be involved in the chapter, find a way to utilize their skills that they want to provide for the chapter to strengthen the overall experience. I know our chapter has a bunch of officer positions that aren't like the national positions that we have made to fill different roles within our chapter. And if you have somebody who's really passionate about a certain area, like they're super into graphic design, they could be your chapter's graphic designer, like all that sort of stuff. It allows you to spread the total workload amongst a larger group of people, and it makes it a lot easier to hold more events, larger events, more successful events, because you have this whole team of support, making it easier for you to get all your stuff done and strengthen your chapter.
They plan ahead. We have a meeting at the end of the semester to discuss future events for the next semester. This helped a lot. Also, I think this is an important point, is showing care to members. They are outstanding. For all Tau Beta Pi members, you are all outstanding, and we are all so happy to have you there. We gotta remind them of that. Although they all know it, it's very important. And we're engineers. We calculate what's best for us, but emotions do play an important role in a human's life.
And these definitely cater a bit more towards smaller chapters. One would be to just make sure you get try to get all of your officers involved. That'll definitely help you out when it comes to filling out any sort of forms and things like that. And it'll definitely get them a bit more excited and feel like they're actually contributing towards the group. And that'll definitely be good if they're like juniors in the chapter, because they'd likely understand more about the group and then be more encouraged to take on a senior role next academic year. The second recommendation I have is to not be discouraged about like participation count for any events you have planned. My chapter is very small and we don't get the most participation in any sort of events. But I strongly believe that taking the time to put together a quality, project, event, whatever you want to call it, definitely outweighs being afraid to do something just because you don't think many people will attend. Because, you put something together, if it's well done, it's not like the effort wasn't there. It's just, you could possibly learn some things about, okay, maybe we just need to try something else for advertising. I genuinely think that's a lot better than saying, yeah, we're not going to do this because we're just afraid not many people are going to show up. Because if you don't do anything, of course, not really many people are going to know Tau Beta Pi or what you guys do. But even if you just try and get one person, that could just, be the foot, you're getting your foot in the door to expand it to something much greater where, you become much more popular on campus or whatnot.
Yes, for us, I think, I guess some of the tips would be to engage members and learning how your members kind of react to kind of the events that you put out. So for example, we've had maybe events, how you mentioned your smaller chapter, that are not so successful. So maybe trying not to repeat those same kind of events and trying to make sure that you're engaging them and having them participate in your events, whether that be like volunteer work or, volunteering activities, or for example, I remember we had a Valentine's Day social, and so we did like a cookie competition. So they were like decorating their cookies. And so small activities like that can help them encourage them to come to your meetings and come to your events, and just making sure that you're always having that hook for your students. And so we got to remember that by the end of the semester, for example, students are burnt out almost, they're getting their, especially in like the spring semester when most students are graduating, they're very busy. And so they're investing time in Tau Beta Pi. So making sure that you have presentations that are of value, giving them kind of a space to either, relax or learn something, but making sure that they take something out of the organization, as they're participating. And
I think if we're looking to make the organization better all around. We want to make sure all of our members are maximizing the benefit that they experience from our chapter. And that kind of goes into what multiple people said about planning like strong, purposeful events that people are seeing that value out of. It's making sure people are aware of their national benefits. It is making sure your members are like communicated with very strongly so that they know what's going on, when it's going on, and feel like they're a valued part of your chapter on campus so that they can then stay involved as they move out into the workforce, into the world.
I would say the most important thing, something I learned a lot from, is our working as a team. Our officers, I want to thank every one of them for playing an important role in our team. I would say encourage everyone to be officers, encourage everyone to attend sessions, delegate stuff, show them how important Tau Beta Pi is and how giving it is. I would say take care of your members, be there, be present, being present whenever they need anything. That's very important. Sometimes you're gonna need to text every single member. I had to do that before to show that thank you for showing up, thank you for being here, thank you for being a member. I'd say that helps a lot in improving the chapter or becoming better.
I'd say just improving the organization in general, getting people actually excited, making it not just an honor society that looks nice on a resume, showing people that we're different. We're not just here to show a fancy title or anything like that. We're really strong engineers. We like to go out into the community and do great things. So I think just in terms of making things as good as possible, encouraging people by making good events, making them excited about, different sorts of activities we do on campus and things like that. So that's what I would recommend.
I would say making sure that your incoming officers are, I want to say well trained. And the reason why I say that is because at least for our chapter, we experienced what it was like when we have such a high turnover rate that you want to make sure that the new people know what's going on and know kind of how to continue, that passion that you guys have and that engagement with the students, and making sure that's not lost. Sometimes when, whole officer boards leave, they graduate. And so you're kind of left with that blank board. And so making sure that maybe you're involving them within that same, semester that you're in, making sure that they're confident coming in.
I would say that if we averaged out across the whole semester, there's always a big candidate event that needs planning. There's emails that are coming in from candidates and members, and there is officer communication. And I would say those three things make up probably what's happening within your day. Because for my chapter specifically, a lot of the events that I'm dealing with as president are our large scale events. So I'm not necessarily on all of the regular events that we have, because we're a larger chapter. We have maybe 2 events a week. So I'm not normally working on those events. Those are normally other officers. For me, it's making sure that I'm communicating with those officers to make sure that everything that they have is organized. I'm answering emails that are coming in, and I'm making sure that we are taking steps towards getting our upcoming significant event, be it vent polishing, initiation, which just happened for us, keep that so it's in order.
Officer communication is so important. For us, we look at the calendar, we have all the events planned. We want to check that everything's on deadline. We booked all the rooms, everything's correct. I check with our officers. I keep in check with them whether everything's all right, if they need anything. We also, I want to say something. Yeah, we also, so that our officers, if they're facing any problem, they tell us. We update the Bent's website. We try to keep up to date every time. We make sure that our members know what's going on. We send them reminders. But I think the most important part is communicating with both officers and Tau Beta Pi headquarters.
My chapter's on the very small side. I believe there's around 17 actual members in my chapter. So regarding what I do typically on a day-to-day basis as a president, mainly is just logistics. If there's a form I need to fill out, of course, I just fill out the form. We don't have that much funding, and you know, we don't do that many events, just because between everyone's busy schedules and conflicting meeting times and whatnot, it's just difficult to put some of those things together. A lot of the time it's, yeah, just me doing logistics. If anybody has a question, for example, one of my officers who does the events has a question or an idea, I kind of just talk it over with them. Otherwise, I'm just talking with my advisor about any sort of initiation that'll come up, or if someone else in the school, such as the SWE Club, the Society of Women Engineers, wants to do some sort of cooperation or joint event, then I'll, you know, reach out to them and whatnot. So typically it's pretty laid back for me just because of how small we are and how we don't do too much since.
So for our chapter, when we first started, we were only, I think, 4 officers, so we were kind of doing double duty. And so when that was going on, or even before, actually, we were just 2. And so we were kind of running around like crazy, trying to make sure that everything was kind of set. And so I think something important is making sure that you're using every resource available to you, whether that be from Tau Beta Pi or from your university. So for example, in our university, we have like a student involvement department. And so you guys probably have something similar, probably named a little different, but they offer, you know, either money through like our government association or through other, you know, departments on campus that can give you funds. And so for us as well, since we're a smaller chapter, you know, we don't have those funds. However, we've, you know, contacted, you know, the departments, kind of make sure that everyone also kind of invests. And so in our case, we're like, okay, so we accept everyone from every engineering discipline. So let's make sure that we have all of our chairs from every discipline involved. And so how do we do that? Hey, you know, do you want to donate? You don't want to, you know, sponsor a pizza, or do you want to sponsor a lunch for this meeting?
For those who aren't yet eligible, we do, I would say, primarily 2 things. And they are, first, class talks, where we go into courses towards the end of your like pre-major requirements, where you haven't yet hit your junior level, but you're taking the classes right before you get there. And we'll go into those courses and talk about Tau Beta Pi, talk about the value of Tau Beta Pi. We have a whole script that we go through for our class talks, talking about the different benefits, be they scholarships, career fairs, resume databases that are like nationally offered, and then the benefit of our own chapter, which is the interdisciplinary relationships, the networking opportunities, the skill building through workshops, all that sort of stuff. And we go in and we talk to them about that to get Tau Beta Pi, to get them familiar with Tau Beta Pi, so that eventually when they get maybe our letter in the mail or our email or a phone call from us, that when they are eligible, they will recognize it instead of hear it for the first time.
For example, we hosted future engineering event for all engineering students to attend this semester. It wasn't only for Tau Beta Pi, we were the ones who hosted it, but we invited all students, and we had a university emailing all engineering students repetitively, and we advertised it on televisions around the university so that they attend. Like it's hosted by Tau Beta Pi. We had this person facilitating future engineering event, and we had students from other other societies, from like students who are not in Tau Beta Pi to attend. I feel like that helped. Even if people don't attend, they just hear Tau Beta Pi, it's a good thing anyway. I feel hosting events that are not only for Tau Beta Pi would be helpful for that.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Ali and Courtney have said. At my school, we just go into some of the freshman and sophomore classes, such as like Engineering Connections, a first-year course, sort of just introduce ourselves, what we're there for, why we're, you know, important and whatnot. Some other sorts of advertising methods where we're trying to do in the future is more social media. So whenever we do something or whatnot, we reach out to the people who are responsible for you know, my school social media accounts, and we'll have them post out something, maybe put something in the newsletter. One of the other things we're trying to do is get a little page on our school's website. I know definitely the older students don't look at it as much, but some of the freshmen, some of the sophomore, if they're looking for research, they may stumble across a page, to glance in and say, oh, this is interesting. I kind of want to be a part of that. Or, if they get the letter and they're still wondering, what it is, they could go to that page and learn more about what Tab Beta Pi is. I know that's not necessarily applicable to every school, but at smaller ones, it may be easier to get in touch with people who are responsible for managing like websites and things like that. And that could be a good way to possibly improve the advertisement of your chapter.
For our chapter, I guess in terms of advertising as well, we do rely heavily on social media. So right now, like we have our Instagram, we keep, we interact with other, social medias of other orgs on campus. We try to always send in like either pictures or other types of content to our College of Engineering Instagram as well. And so making sure that they're always like tagging us and making sure that all of our students are seeing our name. So for our school, for example, we have these like screens that are always like showing kind of the new things on campus. And so we make sure that we always submit our information. Kind of one thing that we encountered at the beginning was that people would think that we're a fraternity or sorority. And so making sure that you have that rapport of who you are, making sure that people know. I think something that helped us, I guess, do that was volunteering at our college events. And so, for example, in engineering week, we hold like events. And so making sure that we're like participating, making sure that we're collaborating with other organizations on campus, because for every event that you attend and that you're volunteering at, you're meeting new people and you're making sure that they know who you are. And so sometimes they'll have questions and you can take that time to, kind of clarify who you are. In respect to like freshman people, in our school, we have like our freshman orientations. And so making sure that we're also volunteering there and already getting our name out there. And we do tell them the requirements. And so it's like letting them know of the perks beforehand. And it's like, if you work hard enough, if you get that GPA, you're totally welcome to join us. This is what we do. This is what we stand for. And kind of getting them to hear the name, hear who we are, and just continuously kind of reinforcing that, I think is what has helped us. And just making sure that, we talk to our professors, that they're also talking about it, that they're encouraging their students to kind of reach, that goal of like being eligible to be a member. And so in our case, since we're like a smaller, I guess, like department, just making sure that there's all hands on deck on kind of like that advertising. So
I already had a pretty large chapter when I came into the presidency. So I'm not necessarily speaking from personal experience when I say it, but I feel like a strong recruitment push at the beginning leads to, like, especially as early as you can in the semester, a strong recruitment push before people have their other commitments for the semester all scheduled out and before people feel like they're too busy to commit to an additional thing. I think that going in strong would get people really passionate and really excited about it so that they could continue that throughout the semester. And hopefully then if they're super excited about it, they get initiated, they can become an officer or potentially to become more involved and then just stay an active member. And then gradually you're building that community of people who really are excited about and are passionate about it.
So in my case, we had a big society, but we didn't have involvement. Our involvement was very, very low. What we changed is there's something where whenever you see a society, a lot of people attending their events, you as a member, even if you never attended before, you're gonna start attending. So it's like starting, like having that event where everyone goes, and later on all the other events will be successful if you keep going on well. So what we did is after our last initiation, all the new members, they don't know how the system works yet. They didn't know that the previous members did not participate that much. So we directly talked to them one-on-one after their initiation. We told them attend the officer elections. It's gonna be very nice. It's gonna be very important. We're gonna offer food. We're gonna do this and that. And Tab Beta Pi is very exciting. Go to the link to go to the website, see how much they do. We had very, very high attendance of new members. And once the old members saw all the new members showing up, or they didn't know their only new members showed up, but they saw a lot of members showing up, it like this made a very good impression for all the next events. I felt that was a good plan to do. But in general, if you want to target all the members that you have, I completely agree with Courtney. You gotta show excitement. You gotta show some energy. You gotta like we gotta do this. We're Tau Beta Pi. We're outstanding. We're gonna be exceptional. We're gonna be the best chapter. We're gonna be the best there is. Words of encouragement help all the way.
Yeah, so I know for me, getting members motivated is one thing, and then there's also sometimes the officers aren't as motivated to do things, especially if the chapter is not too active. They've seen what's been done in the past, or if they're just not like, super excited because for whatever reason. My big thing would be to just try to get like your officers motivated first, and my chapter hadn't done much before this year, and we really got our first like real event sort of thing. And so I would just say like start as simple as possible, like try not to do anything too extravagant. If you can get one good project, again, just keep it simple, like a Pi Day thing. And if you have some participation, that could just be the motivator you and your officers need to sort of say, okay, we can do this. We can definitely do a lot more, and then just sort of go from there. At least that's what sort of happened in my case. A lot of us just came in, we were wanting to, be involved with Tau Beta Pi. Admittedly, some people were wanting to do it to put on like a resume, but we didn't do that much. And then we did a simple Pi Day event. We had some trivia questions lined up, and if you answered a trivia question, you got a free slice of pie. It was incredibly cheap, but it was incredibly effective. And after that happened, it was myself and some of the other officers. It was like, okay, that was a lot of fun, and we had a lot of good participation. And it was sort of just that motivator where it's like, well, we can do a lot more. So yeah, those are just my 2 cents on just slowly building your way there. It's going to take a lot of time, but just getting your foot in the door is the most important thing.
A year ago, we had to kind of forego initiation because we wanted to focus our efforts into making sure that people knew who we were. And so that kind of ties back into that advertisement, right? Making sure that your chapter or that your potential members know who you are. But once you have those initial members, you want to make sure that they, continue to be with, coming to your events and participating. So what worked for us is we developed a point system. So Scott actually mentioned the shop, the Tau Beta Pi shop. So we did a point system where they could trade their volunteering or participation points. So we give 1 point for any kind of event, so like general meetings, kind of more simple events, and then they would get twice as many points per volunteering activity. And so I always tell our members, think of it like you're going to Peter Piper Pizza, right? You're playing your games, you're getting your tickets, and then you can kind of trade those in, for whatever you want. And so we put our top prize as the regalia. So that way they didn't have to purchase it. They could earn their regalia by the end of the semester whenever they were graduating. So they could trade those, those kind of tickets or points. We kind of keep track of them, through attendance sheets. And we'll let them know at the end of the semester how many points they've gotten. And then we'll order either like, I think the tumblers, they get to choose between some t-shirts that we already had in storage. And so they could pick between those. I believe we also gave them the opportunity to get the hoodies. And so we bought actually a couple of those, and they just arrived last week. So we're very excited about those. And just kind of little things. And it doesn't even have to be, Tau Beta Pi merch. It could be whatever you kind of want to incentivize that attendance. But that's what's worked for us. And it got the students really excited. Like they would fight like over everything. Like they would tell us like, hey, like, are we getting points for this? Or are we getting points for that? And so they would look forward to even future events just because of that point system.